I remember a specific Tuesday night in the emergency room that completely changed how I look at fitness for my older patients. It was roughly 3 in the morning when the paramedics wheeled in a gentleman who looked the picture of health. He was 70, 2 years old, lean, with the kind of muscle tone you don't often see at that age, and his wife told us he had never smoked a cigarette in his life and ate a strictly clean diet. Yet there he was, his heart rhythm erratic and his blood pressure dangerously unstable. As we worked to stabilize him, we were all confused because his arteries were relatively clear and his cholesterol was perfect. It wasn't until later, when we sat down to discuss his daily routine, that the missing puzzle piece fell into place. It wasn't what he was eating or his genetics that caused his collapse, it was his morning workout. He had been faithfully performing a specific set of exercises that he believed were keeping him young, but in reality, they were placing a profound, silent strain on his cardiovascular system. This was a turning point for me because it highlighted a truth that isn't discussed enough in the fitness world. The heart of a 55, 60, or 70-year-old is not simply a weaker version of a 20-year-old heart. It is a different engine entirely with different mechanical needs. As we age, our blood vessels naturally lose some of their elasticity, becoming a bit stiffer, which means the heart has to work slightly harder to move blood through the system. This is a normal part of aging, but when you combine this natural stiffness with specific high-intensity movements, you can inadvertently create pressure spikes that the system is no longer designed to handle. It is not about being frail, it is about physics. Over the last 2 decades, I have noticed a pattern of 5 specific exercises that well-meaning seniors perform daily, thinking they are doing the right thing, while actually inviting unnecessary risk. I want to walk you through these movements, starting with the ones that seem the most innocent, because understanding the why behind the risk is the first step toward protecting your longevity. The first area we need to reassess is likely sitting in your spare bedroom or your local gym, the treadmill, specifically when used at a steep incline. Walking or running on a treadmill is fantastic, but a problem arises when people crank that incline up to 7, 10, or 12%, thinking that a harder climb equals a better heart workout. When you force your body to move forward and upward simultaneously at a steep angle, your heart has to battle gravity in a way that drastically increases the demand for oxygen. To cope with this, the heart beats significantly faster. However, the real issue happens because of how this changes your posture. Almost everyone who walks or runs on a steep incline eventually grabs the handrails for stability. It seems like a safety measure, but gripping those rails tightly triggers a physiological reaction called the pressor response. Essentially, the moment you clench your hands, your brain sends a signal to constrict your blood vessels, which immediately drives your blood pressure up. So, you have a situation where your heart is pumping furiously to climb the hill, but your blood vessels are tightening because of your grip, creating a high-pressure system that puts immense stress on the arterial walls. For a younger person, this might just be a tough workout, but for a senior with naturally stiffer arteries, it can temporarily mimic the conditions of severe hypertension. A much safer and frankly more effective strategy is to keep the treadmill flat or at a very gentle incline of perhaps 1 or 2%. If you want to increase the difficulty, simply walk a little faster or focus on letting go of the rails to engage your core and balance naturally. This keeps the blood flowing freely without that dangerous spike in internal pressure. This concept of internal pressure leads us directly to the second common exercise that needs a modification, the classic push-up, or rather, how most people breathe while doing them. The push-up itself is a functional movement, but the danger lies in a subconscious habit almost everyone has. When the going gets tough and you are pushing your body weight up off the floor, the natural instinct is to hold your breath and bear down. We call this the Valsalva maneuver. It creates a rigid torso which makes the lift feel easier, but it comes at a steep cardiovascular cost. When you hold your breath and strain, the pressure inside your chest cavity skyrockets. This internal squeeze does 2 things. It momentarily compresses the heart, and it stops blood from returning easily to the chest. Then, the moment you finally exhale at the top of the movement, all that blood rushes back in, and your blood pressure swings wildly from high to low. For an aging heart, these rapid fluctuations are exhausting and can irritate the heart's electrical system. I have seen many fit seniors complain of dizziness or seeing stars after a set of push-ups, and they often think it is just fatigue. In reality, it is a sign that the brain was briefly deprived of steady blood flow. The fix here is surprisingly simple but requires focus. You must train yourself to never hold your breath. Inhale as you lower yourself down, and forcefully exhale through your mouth as you push up. If you cannot maintain that breathing rhythm, or if the strain is too great, simply elevate your hands on a bench, a sturdy counter, or even a wall. This reduces the gravity load, allows you to breathe rhythmically, and preserves the muscle-building benefits without the cardiac stress. While push-ups are often a solitary exercise, our next concern usually happens in a group setting, which adds a layer of social pressure to the physical strain. I am referring to high-intensity indoor cycling, or spin classes. These classes have become incredibly popular for all ages, but the modern style of spinning, with the lights down low, the music blaring, and an instructor shouting to crank up the resistance, can be a perfect storm for older adults. The environment itself triggers a massive release of adrenaline and cortisol, the body's stress hormones. In a survival situation, this is helpful. In a 45-minute exercise class, it puts the heart in a state of panic. The specific danger here is the combination of extreme resistance and high speed. When you tighten that knob until you can barely turn the pedals, your leg muscles contract so forcefully that they actually squeeze the blood vessels shut, preventing blood from flowing easily. Your heart then has to pump with immense force to push blood through those clamped down muscles. We call this a massive increase in afterload. If you add the fact that these rooms are often hot, leading to dehydration, which thickens the blood, you are asking your heart to pump sludge through a blocked pipe. I have had patients tell me they felt chest tightness during a class, but kept going because they didn't want to be the only one sitting down. That mentality is dangerous. If you enjoy cycling, which is wonderful for the joints, you must be the captain of your own ship. Ignore the instructor's demand for maximum resistance. Keep the gear at a level where you can pedal smoothly and rhythmically. If you feel breathless to the point where you cannot speak a full sentence, or if you feel any pressure in your chest, sit up, slow down, and cool off immediately. Your heart health is far more important than keeping up with the group. Moving from the legs to the core, we find another exercise staple that has been ingrained in us since grade school physical education, yet causes more problems than it solves for seniors: the traditional sit-up or crunch. We have all been told that a strong core is essential for a healthy back, which is true, but the sit-up is a very inefficient and risky way to achieve it. The biomechanics of a sit-up often force the spine into a rounded, loaded position that can be hard on the lower back discs, but from a cardiovascular perspective, the issue is often in the neck. Watch someone doing difficult sit-ups, and you will almost invariably see them interlacing their fingers behind their head and yanking their neck forward with every repetition. This neck flexion can compress the carotid arteries and the jugular veins, interfering with optimal blood flow to and from the brain. Furthermore, just like with the push-ups, the extreme abdominal compression tends to make people hold their breath and bear down, spiking that internal pressure again. There is a reason why many people feel lightheaded when they stand up after a set of crunches: the baroreceptors, little pressure sensors in our neck that help regulate blood pressure, can get confused by that repeated compression and straining. The good news is that we have much better alternatives today. Exercises that focus on stability rather than rapid movement are far superior. A plank, for example, or a dead bug, exercise where you lie flat and move your limbs while keeping your back stable, engages the core deeply without the spinal flexion or the neck trauma. These movements teach your muscles to act as a natural corset, protecting your spine and organs without the violent pressure swings of a crunch. Finally, we arrive at the exercise that I consider the most problematic for the aging cardiovascular system when performed at high speed: the burpee. For those unfamiliar, this involves dropping from a standing position to a plank, doing a push-up, and then jumping back up. It is a full-body movement that has surged in popularity, but it demands a level of hemodynamic agility that diminishes as we age. Think about the physics: you are standing, so gravity is pulling blood to your legs. You drop horizontal, and blood rushes toward your head and chest. Then you explode upward against gravity, and the blood drains from your head back to your legs. Doing this once or twice slowly is generally fine. But when you do this rapidly, aiming for speed as many workouts suggest, you are subjecting your vascular system to what I can only describe as hydraulic turbulence. Your heart is trying to regulate blood pressure to prevent you from passing out, but the position changes are happening faster than the heart's regulatory mechanisms can keep up. This can lead to a significant drop in blood flow to the brain upon standing, which is a prime recipe for fainting or falling. Moreover, the sheer metabolic demand of moving your entire body weight up and down that quickly can send your heart rate soaring into the red zone within seconds. For a heart with any underlying silent issues, such as minor plaque or electrical irregularities, this sudden, extreme demand can trigger arrhythmias. I always advise my older patients to modify this heavily if they want to do it at all. Instead of dropping and jumping, use a step approach. Step back 1 foot at a time into a plank, hold it for a moment to let your blood pressure equalize, and then step forward and stand up without the jump. This slow burpee engages the muscles but removes the violent pressure swings. I share this information not to make you fear exercise, quite the opposite. Movement is the single best medicine we have for aging. It keeps our brains sharp, our bones strong, and yes, our hearts healthy. But the definition of what constitutes a good workout must evolve as we move through our 50s, 60s, and 70s. We have to shift our mindset from punishing the body to nurturing it. The goal is no longer to see how high we can spike our heart rate or how much pain we can endure. The goal is to build a body that is capable, resilient, and energetic for the long haul. When you swap the steep inclines for steady walks, the breath, holding for rhythmic breathing, and the frantic jumping for controlled strength movements, you aren't doing less. You are doing it smarter. You are training in a way that respects the amazing, complex machinery of your heart. I have seen too many people give up on exercise entirely because they got injured or felt terrible after a workout that wasn't right for them. By making these simple adjustments, you can ensure that you are strengthening your heart rather than straining it. Listen to your body. If something feels like bad, pain, or if you feel dizzy or excessively winded, that is your intuition speaking. Listen to it. Longevity is a marathon, not a sprint, and the best exercise is the one you can do consistently, safely, and with enjoyment for years to come. Thank you for taking the time to learn about your health today, and I hope this gives you the confidence to approach your next workout with a new perspective.